Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 shalom, Shabbat, 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. Ki ata Adonai, tu Ki ata
Shabbat Shalom. It is good to be together, to make Shabbos together, to have a bit of Oneg Shabbat, a bit of Shabbat joy. We'll begin our service with lighting Shabbos candles and ask President of our Board of Directors, Win Began, to come up to light candles for us. Page 224.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Continue our service now. The Chatzi Kaddish on page 22 will lead us into the Baruch Hu on page 24, and we rise.
Yitkadosh Shemera Be'amad Yivroch Zutei Be'amlich Malchutei B'chayechon Yom Echad U'v'chayet Chol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uvizman Kariv Bimru Amen Yehi Shmera B'Mevorach Le'olam Le'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitbarach Yitbarach Naseh V'Todar V'Tala Shemei Kedusha Rehu Le'ela Im Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata V'Nechemata Damiram Be'alma V'Imru Amen. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. Continue the middle of page 27. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back or cross over? El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Amahariv Aravim. Top of page 29. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Ve'aftecha la taser mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema, page 30. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta, page 32.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום
ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, ובשעריך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, ובשעריך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Middle of page 35, we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
From Shirat Hayam, the song at the sea, in the book of Exodus, our prayer of redemption, Micha Mocha, page 36. Mimenu Baruch Atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Top of page 39. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Ushmord say, Temel Shalom Yatavi Adolam, Baruch Atah Adonai, Aporei Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu v'al Kol Amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Prayer for Shabbat V'Shamru, page 40.
V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam v'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. ביום השביעי, וביום השביעי, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית תורה. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית תורה.
We now rise and turn to page 130 for the meditation that will lead us into the Amidah, the standing prayer on page 132.
Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Megonei HaKol, V'Zocher Haskel V'Imahot, U'Migdula Livnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol HaTorah v'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofek Olim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, U'Midomelach, Melech Memit U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, Ne'eman Hayot Etim. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMetim.
Page 136. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Complete the remainder of the Amidah silently out of the words on the page from 140 through 153. or the words in your heart this Shabbat. And when you've completed the Amidah, you may be seated.
Our Torah service begins on page 196, and we rise as the Torah is lifted.
Adonai,
Our Torah portion for this week is Parashat Terumah. It has been accused of being the most boring parasha in the entire Torah. Both by, if you want to see the exact quote, it's Ellen Davis in Opening Israel Scriptures. But that's not new news for me. This is my bar mitzvah parasha, and my Rabbi Morris Margulies, Zichronah Livracha, blessed memory, may have also mentioned that on that Shabbos morning that this parasha, on its face at least, is something a little less than compelling. It is a droning on and on of instructions for building the Mishkan, the Holy Tabernacle. Over the years that I've learned to kind of embrace the boredom, feeling something bordering on an obligation to be an advocate for this oft-maligned piece of Torah, to come to its defense every year when it comes up. All of which is to say that for us as Jews, Judaism is all about the details, these little pieces that on their face may seem boring, but in essence mean a lot. As Judaism is behavior-based theology as opposed to faith-based theology, we create our sacred relationships with God and with each other in the details of how we live our lives. My teacher, Rabbi Dr. Moshe Berger, describes the pious Jew as one who seems to have God in front of them in everything they do, large and small, and everyone they meet as well. One detail upon which to focus is the construction of the ark that goes in the Mishkan. The poles, as it says, shall remain in the rings of the ark, they shall not be removed from it. So amongst all of the other furniture that goes into the tabernacle, the poles that are attached, there are other poles attached to other furniture, but it's the poles that attach to the ark that can't be removed. So, and according to the great commentator Rashi, this prohibition was to last forever for all time, so it was seemingly, at least to Rashi, pretty important. One of our great 20th century biblical commentators, Nahama Leibowitz, presents varying explanations regarding the prohibition against removing the poles from the ark. Some are technical. God wanted to minimize the handling of the ark on account of its holiness. The poles were difficult to remove, even if removal was not prohibited. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch finds a loftier purpose for the prohibition. Not removing the poles ensured and was symbolic of the mobility of the Torah. Torah is not parochial, restricted to the particular country where the temple is situated or was situated. Independence of place is an essential characteristic of Torah. Israel's material and spiritual fulfillment are inextricably linked to the land of Israel, but this is not the case with Torah. In this way, Torah becomes accessible to all. That Torah is not limited to Israel increases our standing and our obligation as Jews in the diaspora. We make space for divine presence wherever we happen to be. Likewise, where it states in the parashah that they, emphasis added, shall make an ark of acacia wood, Midrash explains why it references the third person they and not in the second person you. It is so that everyone can be involved in the making of the ark so that they will all merit to have an attachment to Torah. So a seemingly minor detail, the halakha prohibiting the removal of the poles from the ark, becomes central to our understanding of Torah as small d democratic, and not limited to those who ostensibly project some sort of elite status. Wherever we carry the ark, Torah comes with us. And when we consider for whom the gift of Torah is intended, we seek to define the us in a very broad and expansive way. Finally, in addressing the exhaustively detailed instructions for building the Mishkan, Ellen Davis remarks that the Mishkan is a microcosm, a divinely ordered world mirroring the creation story, really, emerging out of the formless void of Egypt, of wilderness, of Israel's own idolatry. Perhaps that is why the tabernacle account lingers so long on detail, in order to show precisely what kind of work is eligible for blessing. In faithful imitation of God's own work, this work is Sabbath-oriented, proceeds from a willing heart, and eschews excess. In its respect for both persons and material resources, it is radically unlike both Egyptian slavery and the dominant work practices of our own industrial culture. So always my pleasure to go back to this Torah portion to see if I remember anything from my bar mitzvah. And we will start with the Torah blessings on page 200.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim Venatan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'asita parochet techelet ve'argaman v'tolat shani v'sheish masar masech oshev yasota kiruvim natata ota al-arba mudei shitim mitzupim zahav avehem zahav al-arba nechasef v'natata et ha-parochet tachat hakrasim ve'veteshama mibeit la-parochet Eid Aron Haidud, Yila Paroket Lachem Ben Kodesh HaKodeshim Ben Kodesh HaKodeshim, V'natata Ed HaParochet Aron V'Alidud, B'Kodesh HaKodeshim.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'Chaye Olam Nata B'Tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. We now come to the time in our service when we think about those who can't be with us in community due to illness. We wish them Rufah Shlema, Rufat HaNefesh, Rufat HaGuf, a complete healing, a healing of both spirit and body. I'll go around the room and ask you to name those you know are in need of a blessing of healing, and then we will recite the Mishaberach for healing together at the top of page 203.
Blackmore.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Sheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We rise as the Torah is wrapped, the Zot HaTorah, bottom of page 203. Say our Torah is an Eitz Chaim, a tree of life. Ki Lekach Tov leads us into Eitz Chaim, bottom of page, middle of page 206.
Ki Lekach Tov natati lachem Torati al tazovu. Lemachzikim ba v'torah
prayer for a better world, Aleinu, page 214.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום לחשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
Middle of 216.
ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
In anticipation of Kaddish Yatom Mourners Kaddish, we observe the Yortzeit this week of Morris Began, father of Win Began. Also, those who passed away this week, three, Ken Salmon and Anatoly Rubshinsky, part of Brad Orda's spiritual care circle, and a friend, Barbara Baer. Anybody else observing a Yortzeit? Kaddish Yatom Mourners Kaddish, page 221. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, ve'amad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kari v'imru,
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam elomei omaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shemei, Dekusha, Brichu, Leila, Minkol, Birchata, Vashirata, Tush, Bachata, Venechamata, Damiran, Ve'alma, Vimru,
Amen.
Yehei, Shlama, Rabba, Min, Shemaya, V'chaim, Malenu, Ve'al, Kol Yisrael, Vimru,
Amen.
Oseh, Shalom, Bimramav, Hu Yaseh, Shalom, Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
May the source of strength send strength to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say,
Amen.
please be seated. Want to give our thanks to our wonderful musicians, our music director, Laura Steinell, Judith Epstein, Karen Ingebretson, Brendan Howard. As always, thank you for wonderful music, uplifting worship this evening. To our wonderful volunteers, board of directors, of whom three are in the house. I suspect others are out on live stream. Win Began, our president, Ray Berger, our vice president, chair of our worship committee, and Brad Ordo all give countless hours to make all this work here at Kol Ami. We are grateful for our friends here at All Souls who have shown up to ensure a wonderful live stream experience tonight, and for which we're very grateful. Mark Gibbons, Mika Westra, Anthony Edwards, Andrea Johnson, Russ Feldhausen, all are here overseeing a new AV system, and we are excited about that. As well, my thanks to colleague and friend, the senior minister here at All Souls, Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons. Coming up, tomorrow morning at 9:30 on Zoom is Adult Study. We are diving into prayer, and not just the how or the what, but the why of it. And we've had one round, and it's been marvelous discussion, and I am excited for more of that. On Sunday at 2:15, also via Zoom, we will have our monthly meditation with the theme being Shabbat, and how we can meditate on Shabbat. A week from tonight, beginning at 6 o'clock, is Family Shabbat. Since the Torah portion is dealing with the priestly vestments, we are going to work with our kids on attire, on clothes, and what they mean, what they don't mean, how we judge people based on appearance, hopefully teaching some really wonderful values. Family Shabbat is for kids of all ages, so we gather at 6 for programming, and then a informal brief service at 6:45. That's back here at All Souls.
It is in All Souls, but because the kids will be working with clothing, we will be in the meeting room down the hall.
Okay, great. When? Yes. Oh, thank you. Wednesday evening, February 9th at 7 o'clock, we are teaming up, partnering with the Jewish Federation, in their author series. The book is Golem Girl by Riva Lair. It is an incredible book, both addressing all sorts of marginalized communities, the queer community, the disabled community, maybe a little bit of us in the Jewish community. I will have the honor of carrying on a discussion with the author, and I think you can register to get on their live stream through our website. Yeah, so we're excited for this. I know Book Club discussed the book at their last meeting, and so we are looking forward to that as well. I think that's all. Other than I would ask everybody to kind of keep an ear to the ground and keep an eye out for anything that goes out in announcements in the way of social justice opportunities, which is to say the Missouri legislature is back in session, so we are protecting ourselves against all sorts of bad legislation that seems to come up all too frequently this time of year. So these things happen pretty quickly, so I just like to keep everybody apprised and just to know to kind of look for that. Anything else? Anything else? You had the first meeting with Brendan. First meeting was this past week?
Yeah, so it's Wednesday, 6:30. I think we got 6. We have 6 sessions. We did the first one, but you could catch up on recordings. So we had somebody miss the first one. It'll be for the second one. We're just learning the Hebrew alphabet. So half an hour, Wednesday, 6:30 to 7 on Zoom. Just 5 more weeks. You could learn the whole Hebrew alphabet. Do a little homework between.
Great.
That's my pitch.
Great, and thank you for teaching the Hebrew, and I think it's just a marvelous opportunity for the congregation. So now with that, we will have Kiddush and Motzi. Can be found on page 231. Vayir v'voker yom hashishi, vayachulu hashamayim ve'haaretz v'chol tzivam, vayakol Elohim bayom hashvihi, malakto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvihi, mikol malakto asher asa, vayavarek Elohim et yom hashvihi, vayakadesh oto, Ki hivo shavat mikol malakto asher bara Elohim laso. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodesho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu Vecharta, Veotanu Kidashta, Mikol Ami, Vishabat Kodshecha, Be'ahava Uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, everybody. Good to be with you all, either here or out on live stream. A Shabbat Menucha, Shabbat of rest, and Oneg Shabbat, a Shabbat of joy. Shabbat Shalom.